helped cultivate the soil where other young people could be like him. He was very fortunate that he was blessed to have come from this hit factory here. And he's just so excited about doing something to put back in there. So, and we're delighted, because for him to have that kind of attitude is just so exciting to me.
What's your role now that Universal owns Motown?
My role is what it is now, is the legacy of Motown and the overall institution that it is and has become. And that's not the ending, that's the beginning of a whole new era of Motown.
You're going to make films?
Oh yes, we're going to do everything. Make films, more records, TV, all this stuff. In fact, Lonesome Dove is a miniseries coming out next year. Of course, I would love to. In fact, we talked about it. We have tremendous connections with movies and stuff. We may do something together, or we may not. Because I have my own things, and we have
Yo, you said we could ask you questions. I got one more. How about another songwriters workshop here?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want you to know that this is a very important occasion for the city of Detroit. I also want you to know that I'm very proud of each one of you who've been out here in the rain for hours in some cases. I think you demonstrate more than anything I can say the bigness and the warmth of the hearts of the people of this city. And so, why don't you congratulate yourselves? Now we have here with us some very distinguished guests. I'm sure you know that, including a native son of Detroit, a native son who established all of this and who went on to California and formed a dynasty. But he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot his roots right here in Detroit. He is a genius in the true sense of the word, and he is a Detroiter. So I know you've been standing a long time. I won't keep you any longer. Without further ado, I introduce to you the president, the chairman of the board, Mr. Motown, Berry Gordy. Berry!
Thank you, Coleman, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Detroit, for giving all of us the love and foundation and support throughout the years. Thank you. Through the efforts of Esther Edwards, of Esther Edwards, the founder and president of Motown Historical Museum Foundation, The legacy of the great Motown achievements will be forever perpetuated because she has kept this alive with the museum. There are many artists that were influenced around the world by this music. The Beatles, Rolling Stones, Radio Free Europe, Vietnam producers, artists, writers, and actors, not to mention the Motown artists, Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, the Supremes, the Jackson 5, Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, the Temptations, the Four Tops, Martha and the Vandellas, and many, many other great Motown acts. They have penetrated the globe for 30 years, and the effect that it had on people's lives all over the world has been phenomenal. Esther Edwards, the founder and president, and Joanne Jackson, the executive director of the museum, were very instrumental in going to Chicago and bringing Michael Jackson back for you. Now, Michael Jackson knows that Michael Jackson knows that success in life is not merely confined to fame and fortune and material gains, but is also found in a continual awareness of our roots, his roots. These are Michael Jackson's roots, right here. You were the first people that bought Michael Jackson's records, and he loves you, and he loves you for it. The museum is indeed most fortunate to have as one of his greatest supporters a man who is not only the greatest entertainer to have ever come out of Motown, but the greatest entertainer to ever come out of any town. There are stars. There are superstars. And then there is Michael Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, here is my pupil, my protege, my son, even my big brother at times, but most of all, my friend, and I love him, Michael Jackson!
It's a great honor to be here. I'm very happy and proud to be back soil from which I came. And Gary Gordy is the man that made it all possible for me. I want to say thank you, Gary, and I love you.
No, I can announce it for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jackson has donated to the Motown Historical Museum to Mrs. Esther Edwards a check for $125,000 for the museum to Mrs. Edwards. Okay. Thank you very much. Hold it up, Mike. Hey, you might have trouble if you talk. If you talk. It's getting wet. If you don't say yes, then you put it
Thank you, Michael. Naturally, I'm overwhelmed. A museum cannot exist if a museum can only exist if there are caring and giving people like you. We thank you, we love you. God bless you and keep you strong.
There it is. Step back.
They're in the other car.
About indoor light.
I really don't know why we're calling this news conference. I read everything that I have to tell you on the front page of both papers. It was a lead story in all the television and radio shows. But in the hopes that we can fill in a few details, let me say that I'm very happy to announce that this year's Detroit Grand Prix will be done by or with kart motor vehicles, which are American motor vehicles, the Indianapolis style, as opposed to the Formula One vehicles that we had employed in the past. They're the type of drivers with whom we are familiar, and with whom the American people are familiar. I think we ought to gain an awful lot in national interest and not lose too much in international interest, and as much as the kart circuit has become an international event these days. And so I think that it's one of those few win-win-win situations. As an example of what I mean, you have three of the distinguished members of the Detroit City Council sitting here in agreement for a change. Well, that's not an easy task.
Subject to change.
Councilwoman Eberhart, Cleveland, and Kelly. In addition, we have with us Bill McLaughlin of the Chamber of Commerce. And I gather that the Chamber is excited. Did I say Chamber of Commerce? I want to apologize for that. there is a difference. And here with us, we have Roger Penske, head of MIS and prominent.
No, he did not.
He didn't come.
Couldn't come.
I wonder what happened to him.
All we
Okay.
have is John Frasco and me, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we'll have to do with that. We have John Frasco, who's chairman of CART, seated right here on my immediate right, and Bob McCabe, president of Detroit Renaissance, and Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons, who has more than a passing interest in these proceedings. You see the release before you. I think it gives you the information that you need. You know that CART is becoming an ever more popular event. We did have a statement from Penske, right?
Yes.
And I can assure you that this event, as we plan it for downtown Detroit, is not in conflict with MIS racing events and is fully supported by Roger Penske. And that, too, is a very good sign. Now, without any further ado, unless I'm going to ask, first of all, John Frasco, chairman of the board of Championship Auto Racing, the Championship Auto Racing Team, CART, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, in behalf of CART, we take great pleasure in announcing this event. As many of you may know, we started the CART organization. Actually, it was started by Roger Penske and Pat Patrick, who's also a Michigander from Jackson, Michigan, and myself, in 1979. And at that time, CART was basically, or the Indy car racing was basically the Indianapolis 500. And since that time, of course, we've expanded our schedule into approximately 60 to 70% of Grand Prix style races, including in the streets of Long Beach and soon to announce in Japan. And certainly this becomes a crown jewel for us. I think that what you're going to find when you're dealing with CART cars racing in the streets of Detroit, by the way, in close proximity to the Indianapolis 500, I think you're going to find the most competitive race series in the world. We have our drivers are such as Mario Andretti and Danny Sullivan and Rick Mears and Al Unser and A.J. Foyt, and the machines, as you well know from Indianapolis 500, are the most sophisticated and fastest cars in the world. So it goes without saying that we're very pleased to be here. I think that I would be remiss if I didn't introduce Mr. Jim Chapman from PPG Industries, who many of you know, I'm sure. PPG Industries is our sponsor of our entire race series, and that gives you an indication that where the CART series goes, corporate America is going to follow. So I think that that's going to be a tremendous plus for the city of Detroit. And of course, I'd also be remiss if I also didn't thank my lawyer, Isaiah Thomas, here for his assistance in putting this together. He's a great man and a great image for Detroit, and he is very helpful in this situation. So without any further words, I'll turn it back over to Mary Young.
Bob McCabe, Renaissance.
Well, obviously, Detroit Renaissance is very pleased that the downtown street race, the Detroit Grand Prix, will continue in 1989 on June 16, 17, and 18, which are our traditional race dates, and into 1990 and 91. Our contract with CART will be a 3-year contract.
How many years?
3-year contract. And we will have the continued excitement in downtown Detroit. We're very thrilled that the CART organization, when I went to John Frasco after the termination of our negotiations in Formula One, John was very responsive, very eager to say that, yes, they would like to be in Detroit. He has a board. He took the matter to his board. And yesterday, John advised me that the board of CART unanimously approved CART racing in downtown Detroit. We're very pleased that we can continue the Detroit Grand Prix in this manner. We think it's going to be very exciting. The mayor has described, of course, the kind of drivers we have in this series. Nobody mentioned that 2 of those drivers were formerly World Championship Formula One drivers, Emerson Fittipaldi and Mario Andretti. We continue in essence, an American event with an international flavor as we've had in the past. We're very excited about it, and we hope the community will be as supportive as it's always been for their event. This is the Detroit race, and it is the people's race in this community. And we will do everything we can to make this what John says it's going to be. That's the crown jewel in the CART series. You may rest assured of that. That will be our aim, Mr. Mayor and John. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Isaiah? I can't believe it. He says he's a basketball player.
What was Isaiah's role in this, Mr. Mayor? If you can keep basketball, say it.
Well, you have to ask Isaiah.
Isaiah.
All I can tell you is that John Frasco happened to be his lawyer, and he had some complimentary words to say about this lawyer, which didn't hurt the deal, right, Isaiah?
No.
How'd you get involved?
You're not shy on the court.
Give him a basketball, man.
We were just talking one day, John and I, and I don't know, we just got to thinking it just made too much sense for it not to be a perfect fit between CART and the Detroit races and the Detroit Grand Prix and corporate America, and you're trying to get everybody involved, and it just made too much sense not to have the race here. I mean, not to have CART involved in the race. At least to me, it made too much sense not to. Because John's right here in Detroit. Basically, all the corporate sponsors that he deals with, the majority of them are right here in Detroit. It just made too much sense not to put the two together. And I guess the mayor thought so too.
Right.
What will your role be, though?
I think I'm going to sit now.
Mr. Mayor, do you have a financial interest here?
Just let us complete the.
You've always bragged about this providing a world showcase, a positive world showcase to Detroit, get national television, international television. Will you have that?
I think so. As I was indicating to you, CART is becoming more and more of an international event. As a matter of fact, the CART series of races with Indianapolis 500 as the centerpiece and combining both ovals and road races is by far the most versatile and attractive of the many, many races that we have an opportunity to present. So I don't think we'll lose anything or very little in terms of international interest, and we certainly should greatly expand the interest in this country and in Canada.
The other question, John, I guess, is will you use the same somewhat torturous course
First of all, in terms of the television, all of our races are nationally covered. All of our races are nationally covered, and right now we're in the 17 foreign countries. As to the same course, generally it's our plan to do that. I think that my people have to come down and inspect it. They've already had some conversation with Bob's people about making some modifications because we like to go a little bit faster than maybe what you've been used to. So I think that we're going to look at some modifications, but generally I would say that we're restricted by the present configuration, and that's fine.
You don't have a road course quite that tough, that's
Long Beach, the Long Beach Grand Prix in April, I think this is probably tighter than that, but I think we got a couple ideas to loosen it up a little bit.
the federation that governs the...
Well, let's hold a question till we can get through with all of the presentations. Councilman Kelly, you care to say anything? While this newfound unity is still alive?
I'm like Isaiah, somewhat bashful, but I think it is great. Even though I drank Miller's, that Danny Sullivan, Notre Dame is #1. The Irish will follow very closely when he comes here. And I think the interest, I don't speak French or Spanish or any of those exotic people that we had here. They complained all the time. Nothing was right. The toilets were too small or too big, or the beer was too hot or too cold. And the track was never right. So I think it's a real plus to have CART here to be on our tracks, and I'm sure the council will work with the mayor to please our new interest here and do everything we can with Champagne Bob to make it a pleasant weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cleveland?
As you know, I'm probably Detroit's biggest Grand Prix fan. I spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all day down at the circuit. I agree with the mayor. I think what we might lose in international jet setters we will pick up with other people from throughout the country. I think people seeing the Andrettis, the Sullivans, can relate much more to that. And I think we probably will not lose as much of the jet setters as some people anticipate, because CART is international. Most of us tend to think of it only as Indianapolis, but it is Indiana. It is a international sport, not just the 500 at the Indianapolis. The council will work with the mayor and with CART, and also with Mr. McCabe of Detroit Renaissance. And I am ready to hear Mr. Fresco, gentlemen, start your engines.
Councilman Eberhard?
Well, as one who was opposed originally to the Grand Prix and opposed to it being on Belle Isle, I've become a firm believer in the Grand Prix. We're the city that put the world on wheels. We're the automobile capital of the United States and of America, and we will put on the very best race with the addition of CART that anybody can have. This will be the crown jewel, because this is the automobile capital, and we'll have the best race, won't we, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we will. Bill McLaughlin from the Convention Bureau.
I would just say that at the Bureau, we're delighted. We're delighted that the race is staying downtown, that we're delighted that the race is continuing in Detroit, and we're delighted that CART is coming to Detroit. The United States is our major market. We're now going to be able to sell a race with names and cars that the American people are familiar with. We think it's going to be a tremendous success. We're looking forward to seeing the Andrettis, the Unsers, the Foyts, the Sullivans here next June.
They draw the crowds, Mr. McLaughlin. Will they draw the money too? I mean, obviously the kart races are big. How do the spenders compare? I mean,
Well, I think Bob McCabe would have to answer that. Our main interest, Woody, is the people that we're eventually going to bring in here for conventions and other things. This is going to be a very positive thing to show the city of Detroit in a sport that they really understand, and I think the impact is going to be greater than maybe Formula One was in the future of attracting people to bring their big conventions to Detroit as a result of CART being here.
Okay, question for anyone who's addressed you.
Mr. McCabe, the International Federation that governs Formula One racing said they dropped Detroit because of safety considerations. Have you talked about that?
course not. Safety considerations had nothing to do with it. The negotiations that have been going forward between Detroit Renaissance, the city, and Formula One centered on requirements for garages, requirements for total repaving, requirements for new race control towers, requirements for those kinds of things, all new fencing of a different kind, but had nothing to do with safety. All of the considerations of safety that are required in all of their regulations have consistently been met by Detroit, and obviously we would not want to run an unsafe race. So that is an issue that they decided.
Who said that safety was a factor?
FISA issued a press release saying, Mr. Mayor, that
Ecclestone?
This is Jean-Marie Belest and company with Mr. Ecclestone, in which they said that that they had withdrawn our application for a Formula One race in Detroit because we could not meet safety
Well, I hope
considerations.
it wouldn't come to this because, you know, Bob is very polite. The real reason is money, and those guys are greedy.
Okay. Woody, could I comment on the question that you asked about are we going to still get money in this town because of the race? There's no question in our mind. There's no question in our mind that we'll have the attendance that we've had before and maybe more. We're counting at least on what we've had before. There's no question about what the corporate hospitality, the people who invest in this enterprise, who bring the people here, who entertain here. Already this morning, after you all guys made the announcement, the calls have been coming into our office for hospitality suites, and there is a demand, and clearly the kind of figure that we have used in the past is upwards of $20 million coming into this community because of the Detroit Grand Prix, and our judgment will clearly continue.
Was there ever any pressure from the Grand Prix people? Was there ever any pressure from the Grand Prix people to move the site to Belle Isle?
Now, if you want to go back on the history on that, let's take a moment. In June, we were confronted, the mayor was confronted by the fact that developers were announcing that they were going to develop on the course by 1988. With that, we had to discuss with the mayor and with FISA the possibility, if we cannot be downtown, where could we be? And the only place in all of the studies that all of us have done was that we felt where would be close to downtown would be Belle Isle. The mayor then and Mr. Ecclestone and Chick Fisher announced that it was our intention to go to Belle Isle if we could not be downtown. No one said that's where we want to be. It's where we want to be if we cannot be downtown. When the mayor notified me, I guess a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, that the developer would not be meeting that target, that we could be downtown, that's when we went back to FISA and said, we do not want to go to Belle Isle. You never wanted to go to Belle Isle. Therefore, we want to come back downtown, and that's when the negotiations went through the processes that have been going on for 2 months. Does that answer the question?
So, no, are you saying then that FISA did want to go to Belle Isle, or did not want to
No,
go to Belle Isle?
they would have gone to Belle Isle if that's where we wanted to go. They would have come downtown if we would have provided them with all of the kinds of things. Now, a lot of the problem gets around now to the fact that they only do really 2 street races, us and Monaco, and they like to have the same kind of facilities, the garages, race control towers, and those things, which are impossible to do in the city of Detroit.
Bob, if the safety thing was a smokescreen, and if, as the mayor said, FISA guys are just really greedy, can you enlarge upon that? How greedy were they? What kind of cut is CART going to get?
Well, let me put it this way. We decided that the financial requirements were not acceptable to Detroit Renaissance, and that's when we informed them that we would not continue the negotiations.
Is NCAM going to remain the main sponsor then?
Pardon?
Will NCAM sponsor the race again?
Sir, this has happened in the last 2 days. There's been no conversations with anybody about sponsorship, we will seek sponsorships.
What advantages do you have now in terms of cost in putting on the race?
Not a lot. We still, of course, have one of the most expensive sites to create because we're in the large city downtown. We still will have to do the kind of safety systems that make this a safe racing event. The costs might very well be reduced by having to pay for flying 747s filled with racing cars here. There are some things like that, Roger, but they're not major in terms of savings.
What was the factor in why you made this?
No, the factor, we decided that we did not want to make the financial commitment to do the various things that were required by CART, by FISA, and we did not choose to continue negotiations on that basis. Then we were interested in the continuation of this event, and then we talked to Mr. Frasco, and we have made our deal.
There's a parallel to this, you know. Long Beach had the Formula One racing, and down on the same as you have racing here. They switched over from Formula One racing to kart racing, and the crowd is double what it used to be. You can't get a hotel room within 30 miles of Long Beach. And also, they have, last year they had 95,000 paid on race day, and over 220,000 paid for 3 days, paid admission.
There is some experience.
Any other questions? I think the main thing that Bob was saying, in order to clear up this FISA business, they didn't break off negotiations. We did. And I think it would be well for all concerned not to burn our bridges behind us. I don't know why they would want to spread the story that it's because of safety that they quit us, when that is not the fact. But as far as I'm concerned, we did what we had to do for very justifiable reasons.
Mr. Mayor, we always say that Bernie Ecclestone is always putting platinum footballs now.
At least platinum. He wasn't satisfied with platinum. He wanted diamond embedded. Any other questions?
How long did over what period of time did the negotiations and talks with CART last? When did you cut off negotiations with FISA and then start working this other new deal?
We cut off negotiations. The final offer was made last week, and on Friday I started conversations with Mr. Frasco.
You're going to have the same structure, the same affiliated races, same time trials, same free Friday.
We will look at all of those things, Jim. We will have to look at support races and all of those things. Forgive me, but we've just got to this point.
I think one thing is that American motor car manufacturers, auto companies, are more involved with the Indy type vehicles than they were with the Formula One type vehicles, which means that here again there'll be a more direct connection.
I'm assuming you're expecting Chevrolet.
You're assuming correctly, Jim.
That's an American-made product. Yeah, that's right. That's right. With a plant in Detroit.
Of course, many moons ago, Jimmy Clark bought that rear engine 289 Ford Lotus to Indy and caused all that damage. The American Championship cars took a bad rap, being hot rods and only made left-hand turns. Obviously, from the configuration of these courses, that's changed.
Yeah, very much so. We, again, beginning in 1979.
You got him up.
Yeah, I get up on that question. Beginning in 1979, that's exactly the purpose that we had, is to take these cars into the cities, but still keep the mix of the super speedway type of racing, like Indianapolis and Michigan 500 and so forth. So And we did that with the Caesars Palace Grand Prix. We did that with Long Beach Grand Prix, at Toronto Grand Prix, and there's a few other things to come. So the Detroit situation is not new to us, but I think that it's probably, from a downtown street race, it's probably the most exciting and the very best in the world of any kind, and that's why we were very much interested in it.
John, a few minutes ago you said that the Indy cars are the most sophisticated in the world. Why do you say that?
Well, our PR guy, Jim Chapman, probably could answer that better. He has all the facts, but certainly that they are the fastest. That's an argument that Formula One has with us all the time, but our cars, as you know, at Indianapolis, 220 miles an hour. We also feel, from the driver's point of view, that you have drivers here that can race in configurations like Indianapolis and also in Long Beach and Detroit. So we feel that the drivers, as well as the machines they drive, are the best in the world, and that's our claim, and we'll stick to that.
John, can I ask you a money question similar to the one I asked Bob? If the money deal didn't look so good to FISA, why does it look good to CART?
Well, I think that I don't know if the money deal doesn't look good to FISA. I don't think that was ever the situation. I think that, as I understand it, and I wasn't involved in those negotiations, is that FISA demanded certain requirements that would cost the Detroit Renaissance a great deal of money to comply with. Had nothing to do with the payment to us or the payment to Formula One. I don't think that, I certainly don't want to anybody refer to us as greedy, but we're certainly not cheap.
I'll buy that.
You did.
Well, on that fine note of distinction, we'll call this press conference a halt.
Mr. Mayor, could I make one statement? I'd like to make a statement if I could. I forgot to. I want to just say one thing. I hope the media, you guys in the last few years, helped build the support for our race, and you know that I've thanked you before. And I hope that you have the same kind of enthusiasm for the future of the Detroit Grand Prix as you've had the last few years, and will give the town and this event the kind of support that you've been giving. And I've always thanked you, and I thank you again.
Okay.
You probably